Thanks for clicking on the video. Before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. So in the UFC's short 28 years, we've seen the competition only get better and younger. Fight fans have recently been seeing the rise of mixed martial artists who have been training since they could walk. Second-generation talent are also starting to make their way through the regional scene now more than ever. Though Dana White tends to shy away from younger talent, we've seen an influx of signings thanks to the Contender Series and platforms like UFC Fight Pass. If you've been wondering about the youngest fighters in the UFC, look no further. Check out the current 10 youngest fighters currently signed to the biggest promotion in the world. At number 10, we have Erin Blanchfield. With one of the best nicknames in the game, Cold-Blooded has made quite the impression in her 3 UFC fights. She dominated Sarah Alpar in her debut, then took out a promising prospect in Miranda Maverick. Most recently, she submitted JJ Aldrich to extend her current win streak to 6 straight. Ever since Erin made her MMA debut at the age of 18, she was destined for big things. Her only loss on the regional scene is to UFC flyweight Tracy Cortez. Ironically today, they are the number 13 and number 14 fighters in the division. But Blanchfield has her eyes set on being the one to defeat Valentina Shevchenko. Crazy enough, she's not far away. Make sure to keep an eye on Erin, because she's about to do everything she said she would do en route to greatness. At number 9, we have Cory McKenna. Fresh off a win over the returning Miranda Granger, Cory McKenna is right where she needs to be at this point in her career. The Cage Warriors veteran is 2-1 in the UFC and trains at Team Alpha Male in Sacramento. The suffocating wrestling was on display against Granger, where she tapped her opponent with a Von Flue choke in round 2. The first Von Flue finish in the UFC by a woman, in case you were wondering. In addition to Granger, she has also taken out tough veterans Vanessa Demopoulos and Kay Hansen. She's also the lone Welsh woman to fight in the octagon, getting her opportunity via the Contender Series. Though she has a small frame for strawweight, she has all the time to build her MMA game around quick takedowns and articulate grappling. At number 8, we have Michael Morales. The Pride of Ecuador earned his UFC contract on Season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He then made his highly anticipated debut at UFC 270, finishing Trevin Giles in the first round. Most recently, Michael Morales defeated Adam Fugit at UFC 277, and it was an absolute war. 14 fights deep and only 23 years old, the sky is truly the limit for Morales. After his 2 showings in the UFC, it's clear Dana White has a real prospect on his hands with massive star potential. If Chito Vera doesn't capture the bantamweight championship before Morales gets a title shot, he could become the first Ecuadorian UFC champion. Only time will tell how Michael fares in the top 15 of the welterweight division, but one thing is for sure, he deserves all your attention. Next up, at number 8, we have Daniel Zellhuber. Despite his youth, Daniel had impressed Mexican fight fans for a long time in the Lux and Combate promotions. Yet to debut in the UFC, Golden Boy fought into the promotion last year on the Contender Series with a decision win over Lucas Almeida. He broke his leg in that fight, and has been slowly returning to 100%. The wait to see the talented finisher is nearing a close though, as he's booked to fight Kansas City's Trey Ogden at UFC Fight Night on September 17th. He's been working at Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand recently, and will probably have plenty of new sides to show the world soon enough. Moving on to number 6, Chase Hooper. It's crazy to think that Chase has been signed to the UFC for 3 years now. He has been fighting grown men since he made his MMA debut in 2017 at 17 years old. 5 fights into his pro career, he appeared on Season 2 of Contender Series and impressed Dana White after a comeback win against Kanan Kawehe. Since Chase was only 18 years old at the time, Dana awarded him the first ever developmental contract. It allowed him to focus on training while competing on the regional scene. After 3 wins in various promotions, the UFC officially signed him to the roster at 19. He later made his debut shortly after his 20th birthday, celebrating with a first-round finish at UFC 245. Now 5 UFC fights under his belt, he's been able to build momentum and gain the interest of fight fans around the world. Needless to say, Hooper is destined to have a very long fight career. All eyes have been on him since 2018, and they'll continue to be as he grows up in the world's best promotion. Next up, we have Maheshate at number 5. Maheshate was featured on last year's Contender Series, taking out the undefeated Achilles Estremadura to earn a UFC contract. Most recently, he made his UFC debut against Steve Garcia, who he finished in the first round. Now 9-1 in the most stacked UFC weight class, it's evident China has a real prospect on their hands in the young 22-year-old. If you watch him fight, you'll see he's dangerous wherever the fight goes, and has real power at 155 pounds. 5 of Maheshate's 10 pro fights have come via finishes, the rest were by way of decision. So you know he has no problem going the distance if needed, and he'll do it dominantly. Only time will tell how Maheshate's career will unfold, but no, he's a prospect to keep a close eye on in the lightweight division. Moving on to number 4, Tatsuro Taira. The UFC has been woefully lean on their Japanese roster for far too long, but young flyweight Tatsuro Taira gives some hope. Residing in Okinawa, Taira fought almost exclusively for Shudo in his home country. He accumulated a perfect 11-0 record with 8 finishes in Japan, leading to his signing earlier this year. Taira faced Carlos Candelario in his debut at a UFC Fight Night last May. He was able to handle the Contender Series alum to a decision, threatening with numerous submission attempts. He'll fight another Contender Series graduate on October 15th when he meets CJ Vergara. Make sure you keep an eye on the 22-year-old. He's a solid prospect signing and still has a long career ahead of him. Next up we have number 3, Mohammed Makhachev. You could argue that after mounting a 24-0 amateur record, Mohammed was ready for the UFC the moment he turned pro. He has been calling for a shot in the UFC for a while now, and they finally decided to give him the opportunity last year, signing him straight to the promotion. In his UFC debut, he took out Cody Durden in 58 seconds of the very first round. Most recently, he manhandled the LFA bantamweight champion, Charles Johnson, to a unanimous decision victory. If there's one thing about the 22-year-old, there is no lack of confidence whatsoever. He's probably the youngest fighter who is truly ready for the top flyweights in the world. Mohammed has proven that he'll fight whoever the UFC puts in front of him. With 31 wins on his record, you should believe him when he says he's a future world champion. We may see that vision come to fruition sooner than we think too. New to the list, we have the newcomer Cameron Saaiman at number 2. Seaman is a young bright prospect who is a protege of UFC fighter Dricus du Plessis. Since his debut, he's been fighting for the UFC, the top promotion out of South Africa. It's actually the same promotion du Plessis fought for and became a champion. He recently followed Dricus in signing to the UFC after his huge win on Week 5 of Contender Series. Seaman started kickboxing at the age of 12 and even competed for K1 before switching over to MMA. As you saw, he's so comfortable on the feet with his creative striking and diverse kickboxing, while having really light movement. There is no doubt that Cameron is a bright young prospect and has a massive career ahead of him. Last but not least, at number 1 we have Yasmin Lucindo. The youngest fighter to fight for MMA's number 1 promotion is Brazilian Yasmin Lucindo, who was born in January of 2002. It's crazy that she has fought 17 times already since going pro at the ripe age of 15. Most of her competition within Brazil hasn't been stellar, but she's had a few decent wins recently over Contender Series alums Sarah Frota and Lucrezia Ria. Time will tell soon if she's ready for the upper echelon of the strawweight division, as she recently fought at UFC San Diego against another tough newcomer. She's already far ahead of most of her peers and has nothing but time on her hands to level up. There's no doubt that she's the future of the division, so we'll see how her career continues to pan out. Like we said, they are only getting younger as the sport ages. It's even crazier to think that on Contender Series this season, there will be a 17-year-old fighting. If Raul Rosas Jr. wins and gets the contract, he will officially take over the crown of youngest fighter signed to the UFC. Which young fighter do you have the highest hopes for? Let us know in the comments section below. And make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the fastest rising YouTube channel in combat sports and sports entertainment. Until next time.